continue not playing until then. One more. Would you be shocked if the Eagles miss the playoffs?
Miss playoffs? Yes, I would be so shocked. You know why? Because it can't get any worse than last year. Last year was a complete train wreck. I think the addition of not only Saquon Barkley, but Kellen Moore, you got Vic Fangio. I think these guys, they got the roster. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown still there. I think Jalen Hurts has a bounce-back year. He was not healthy last year. I don't care what they say. This is a playoff team.
So last year, let's come out and talk about this one, because the Eagles are a really interesting team. Last year was a disaster. The second half of that season for the Eagles, it went beyond the normal team falls apart. It looked like it was worse than that. And there were this terrific article that we had recently about some of the dynamics inside and all the rest of that. And the question is, what Jalen Hurts is going to be available to them this year? What are we going to see from him this season? So the new offensive coordinator is Kellen Moore. They've got ridiculous weapons there. Lewis, tell us, what should that offense look like if Jalen Hurts is going to go back to being an MVP candidate and this team is going to go back to being a Super Bowl contender? Describe for the audience in English, what should that offense, I mean, not in football-ese, but in ways we can all understand, what does that offense need to be?
This needs to be one where he really is the distributor, the point guard. And I know people are saying, but he's paid to be like the difference maker, to be the focal point. Well, he's naturally going to be the focal point, but he just needs to be a distributor, because you just mentioned it. Look at all the weapons that they have. Look at what's around him. Turn around and hand the football off to Saquon. Turn around, play action to Saquon, push the ball down the middle of the field to Dallas Goedert, push the ball outside to A.J. Brown, push the ball outside and on crossers to Devontae Smith. When they decide to run RPOs or get you out there on zone reads, be judicious with your decision-making, play fast, play decisive. That's really going to be the number one thing that you need to look for, is Jalen Hurts playing fast and playing decisive, meaning the ball is out, especially in the passing game, with a quickness. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see him running around extending plays too much, taking unnecessary hits. Kimberly just alluded to it. He probably was injured last year. You don't want to put him in harm's way, and there's no need to put him in harm's way. You got too many other weapons. The quicker you see him making decisions, getting the ball in other people's hands, the more successful this offense is going to be.
Make it even simpler for me.
Yeah, I'm going to quote the great Mike Greenberg. Sneaky big news. They went out and got Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson was a first-round pick, Rini, and he will get the opposing team's worst corner. So Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, or Jahan Dotson, take that player in fantasy, because we know that on the outside, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, they're going to be doubled. So all Jalen Hurts has to do is play point guard, get the ball out of his hands, stay healthy. And by the way, the other big number to me, Saquon Barkley, 288 career receptions. What he'll do in the passing game, to me, is really underrated.
I think Barkley, if he stays healthy, is going to have a huge year. Lewis, very quickly, what should I make of this against the blitz thing? A lot was made of this. We had the stat yesterday. Against zero blitz, Jalen Hurts threw the most interceptions of any quarterback in the NFL last year. I want to put this full screen up here, because part of that criticism, if I could put up C14, Matt, when we did that poll of like most overrated quarterbacks, one player said, quote, how hard is it to throw jump balls to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? And their tight end is really good. That's Goddard. So, Lewis, what should we make of the fact that they were so bad? He was so bad last year against the blitz.
To me, it's the fact that he wasn't being given answers. Look, and the way I can equate this, I'll just tell this quick story. We talked about it this morning, and I'll be fast. I talked to Josh McCown at the Combine, the quarterback coach in Minnesota, and he said the number one reason why he was excited to be working with Kevin O'Connell was the fact that their offense always had answers for the quarterback. The quarterback never had to come off the field and wonder, what should I be doing now based upon what the defense is doing to me? That Kevin always had an answer built into his system. And see, now that is what that needs to happen in Philadelphia. They need to provide him with answers. And he will be able to, and he should have answers now provided by Kellen Moore to deal with the blitz. Because if you still see some of the same things, at some point, it's going to be put back on him. But I believe they will have more answers for him. We'll see how it plays out.
Kmart.
Listen, I just think Kellen Moore, to me, being here, when you look, I think not just play action, but I think motion is like, I think they got to move the ball around. They got to take advantage of all the weapons. Philly, they ranked last in motion last year, motion overall and motion from the snap. I just think this year they will be so much better. Jalen will have so many other opportunities to be successful in this offense and to look more cohesive than whatever that was last year.
Look, it can't get worse than it got at the end of last year. But if it doesn't get markedly better, and remember, we're going to see them on the opening Friday night, a week from Friday. They play in Brazil against a good Green Bay team. So the whole world will get a chance to watch and see what it looks like for their week one. We, meanwhile, now transition to college football's week one, which starts tomorrow night. Lewis is here. Heather Dinich jumps into the conversation. Let's play a game we call Fill in the Blank. Heather, monster game this weekend, Georgia-Clemson. So, to beat the Bulldogs, Clemson needs to do what?
Greeny, they need to get a great game out of their quarterback, Cade Klubnik. They need to find some explosive plays downfield and not turn the ball over. This Georgia defense is not one you want to give any freebies, not a short field. Cade Klubnik last year, 11th out of 12th qualifying quarterbacks with a 55 total QBR.
What a matchup for this week one. Again, Georgia and Clemson. Another great one, Lewis, is Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Let me put it this way. If the Irish win that game Saturday night, then what?
Then pencil them in for the college football playoffs. Look, they're going to have clear sailing until late October, where they do have to go to Atlanta and play a Georgia Tech team that many people had clearly overrated, but they get Florida State at home. I believe then they have to go to USC late in the season. But this is a football team that could be setting themselves up to go ahead and finish this season undefeated. You can never say never, but this would be a great start for Marcus Freeman in his third season.
Absolutely. And again, they can't finish higher than fifth in the new rankings, but that's a different conversation. And then finally, we will see Colorado in primetime, literally in primetime Thursday night here. So Heather, by December, Colorado will be what?
An afterthought, Greeny, with 4 wins. When I look at their schedule, ESPN Analytics has them as a heavy favorite to win their season opener. I also think that they can get wins against Cincinnati, Baylor. You know, I mean, Colorado State is one that could be tricky, but I look at this lineup and I see a lot of L's on there, to be honest. Remember, they have a whole new roster again, the most transfers in the FBS with 44. This is a lot of turnover. So I think they could be in trouble, Greeny. And we're talking again about what Deion says off the field and not as much about what he does on it in terms of the win column.
Well, look, I mean, the reality is this. Deion Sanders is one of the most significant, famous figures in the entire world of sports, and it creates a lot of conversation, to your point. He took over a program. He didn't take over Alabama or Texas. He took over a program that was going to need some building, and so here they are. They are relevant. The question about how good they are is an interesting one. Lewis, you have known Deion Sanders well for 40 years. What is your perspective on where he has that thing right now and where it's going?
Yeah, I think, look, obviously, like that graphic says on the bottom there, what's more important for him, wins or relevance? Look, they're already relevant now. He's got everybody's attention. It is now shifting to wins, and he understands that because he's been a winner. He's been a winner individually at the highest level because he's one of the best football players to ever put on a uniform, and he has been a winner as far as being a Super Bowl winner, so he understands what team success is looking like. Remember, what he is trying to do out there in Colorado is make a university, a football program that was irrelevant. No one cared about Colorado football. Nobody. What did you expect him to do? I understand that culture is something that is hard to do when you're having upwards of 40 transfers and that kind of turnover on your football team every year. But he has no other choice, quite honestly. He has to, because he's trying to get this thing up off the ground like right now. Here's the key for Colorado this year. It's not skilled players. It's the big men. It's the offensive and defensive line. We did 2 of their games last year. They have skilled people that can deal with anybody in the country. It's the big men where they were totally, and I mean totally outmatched. Now, if they can get competent play out of that, his son is a bona fide superstar at quarterback. He will be fine. Travis Hunter is a bona fide superstar who you see on your screen right there. He will be a high draft pick. But it's the big men. It's the big men and whether or not then his coaching staff can put them in positions to win football games. But look, there's been other teams that have really jumped head first into the transfer portal, and they have had success. Maybe not to the degree that Deion has had to with 40-plus transfers, but there's been other teams like Florida State, who we're going to do their game this coming Monday, who Mike Norvell has been a master at using the portal. Don't knock the portal. The portal isn't the issue. He's trying to win games and bring back a university and a football program that was dead.
And very quickly, people will look at the screen and they will say, all right, Colorado's a 10-point favorite tomorrow night. North Dakota State, they're an FCS school. Do not sleep on North Dakota State. Heather, a quick final thought on that. This is a program that has developed a lot of players that you know in the NFL, and when they step up in class, Heather, they have had a lot of success.
Greeny, this is a 9-time FCS champion. They're better than they were last year. They are loaded at wide receiver. This is a team that might be the best it's been in a couple of years, and they're no joke. So I would definitely put Colorado on upset watch going into this one, and that's dangerous because ESPN Analytics said that they should also lose in week 2 to Nebraska. You start 0-2, that's rough for Deion Sanders.
All right, we will watch what happens. Heather, outstanding as always. Lewis, sit tight. Again, let me show you what we have coming up because that game kicks off look at this weekend of college football.